The strongest villain didn't invade Earth. She deleted it. Every city, every country, every human, gone. Everyone died except one immortal girl. Unfortunately for the woman who destroyed the planet, immortals don't stay dead, and they never forget. Without any warning, enormous black circles suddenly appeared across the sky, leaving the entire world frozen in confusion. Sul-Yun looked up alongside the little girl she cherished, unable to understand what was happening above them. The strange circles continued multiplying until they covered almost the entire sky. Watching the impossible sight unfold, Sul couldn't help thinking that life had always been unbelievably cruel. Military forces quickly noticed the phenomenon, but communication with other units suddenly stopped without explanation. Elsewhere, a little girl excitedly pointed at the sky, while television news began reporting the mysterious objects appearing worldwide. The emergency broadcast urged everyone to remain indoors until authorities could understand the situation. No matter where they lived, people across the world stared at the same terrifying sight overhead. Some even joked about the situation, taking photos and treating the mysterious circles like another viral event. Before anyone could upload a single picture, every device suddenly lost its signal. Moments later, every black circle began glowing with an eerie purple light. Brilliant beams descended toward the people below, while most remained completely unaware of the danger. As the light reached the ground, the earth itself suddenly started breaking apart. People vanished one after another, leaving only their clothes and personal belongings behind. Violent explosions erupted wherever the mysterious beams struck the planet. The same horrifying event unfolded across the globe as every circle released its destructive light. The purple beams didn't simply kill people. They reversed time itself, making everyone younger until they disappeared. The entire planet continued rewinding as though history itself was being erased. In the end, Earth completely ceased to exist. When everything was over, only one person remained alive, Sul-Yun. Even Da-Un began growing younger before Sol's horrified eyes. The little girl disappeared completely, leaving Sul with nothing but empty hands. As she stood alone, Sul realized the miserable fate of her life had started when she was only 7. After falling from a tree, she struck her head on the rocks below and suffered a terrible injury. Before anyone could help her, the deadly wound healed on its own. Everyone watching was left speechless by the impossible miracle unfolding before them. That day, Sul discovered the terrifying truth that she could never die. From that moment onward, endless misfortunes seemed determined to follow her. Her parents were brutally murdered by an unknown killer, leaving her completely alone. Instead of protecting her, her own grandfather imprisoned her inside a laboratory for 10 years. Everything changed when a massive gas explosion destroyed the facility. Using the chaos, Sul finally escaped the prison that had stolen her childhood. At 17 years old, she experienced the warmth of the rising sun again after years of captivity. It was during that new beginning that she met an old man and a little girl named Da-Un. Looking back now, Sul realized losing Earth itself wasn't the greatest tragedy she had ever faced. There had never been much about her life on Earth that she truly wanted to hold on to, but there was one loss she simply couldn't accept. That person was Da-Un, the little girl who had become her entire reason to keep living. To Sul, Da-Un wasn't just family, she was everything. She was the only light that had ever entered Sul's dark and lonely life. Now even that precious light had vanished without leaving a single trace behind. Overcome with grief, Sul screamed through tears as she mourned the one person she couldn't save. As if answering her cries, one of the black circles overhead began glowing once again. Another beam of purple light descended and completely engulfed Sul. Instead of dying with Earth, she was transported to another version of the planet in a different dimension. She arrived in Hetria, a massive steampunk city unlike anything she had ever seen. The city's soldiers quickly surrounded the confused newcomer. Without giving her any chance to resist, they escorted Sul away. Still struggling to understand what had happened, Sul could only catch her breath in confusion. Before long, she was brought into an enormous palace where someone greeted her with laughter. A knight respectfully announced Sul's arrival before the ruler waiting inside the grand hall. A mysterious woman wearing a crown welcomed Sul and calmly invited her to join the prepared meal. The soldiers forced Sul into a chair while the woman explained she had been unconscious for 3 days. The queen claimed she had even prepared Sul's favorite food, though Sul remained completely bewildered. As Sul cautiously examined her surroundings, the woman casually mentioned that portal travel could be overwhelming. When the woman called her name, Sul suddenly flinched in surprise. She slowly lifted her head and stared directly at the mysterious ruler before her. The woman smiled warmly and affectionately referred to Sol as her precious treasure. Still believing none of this could possibly be real, Sol suddenly grabbed the knight standing behind her. She locked him in a chokehold before anyone could react. Snatching his sword, Sol convinced herself this strange place had to be nothing more than a dream. To prove it, she drove the blade into her own body, expecting to wake up immediately. Instead, painful memories of her destroyed world rushed back into her mind. She remembered losing the only person she had ever truly loved. The mysterious ruler calmly asked whether the food wasn't to Sol's liking. Pulling the sword back out, Sol finally accepted the horrifying truth that this was reality. The woman simply laughed after realizing Sol still believed she was dreaming. Then she decided to show Sol something that would erase every remaining doubt. She revealed a crystal containing the only remaining image of Da-un and proudly called it a special souvenir. The woman explained that the crystal was now the only record of Da-un left anywhere in existence. Unable to stay silent any longer, Sol finally demanded to know who the mysterious woman really was. The mysterious woman answered with nothing more than a calm and unsettling smile. She gently placed the crystal containing Da-un's image onto the dining table. The woman introduced herself as the ruler of the land known as Horsen. Her expression suddenly darkened as she angrily asked whether Sol's mother had never spoken about her. The entire palace began trembling under the overwhelming pressure of the woman's anger. Her voice echoed through the hall, leaving Sol frozen as the terrifying question was repeated once again. Although nothing made sense, Sol knew she couldn't stand there any longer. She grabbed the heavy dining table and hurled it aside, clearing the path in front of her. Without hesitating, Sol charged straight toward the mysterious ruler. Instead of reacting, the woman simply watched with a calm smile. Before Sol could reach her, a knight intercepted the attack and stopped her advance. As she glared at the woman, one terrifying realization filled Sol's mind. She became convinced this woman was responsible for destroying her entire world. The palace guards immediately surrounded Sol after she dared threaten their queen. Da-un's final moments flashed through Sol's mind, fueling her anger even further. Tightening her grip on the sword, Sol demanded to know why everything had been taken from her. Before she could finish, the mysterious ruler calmly spoke her name. The queen coldly replied that the destruction of Sol's world was none of her business. Sol was left speechless, unable to understand how anyone could say something so heartless. Refusing to give up, she shattered the spear blocking her path and attacked again. The queen never even rose from her chair as Sol's blade closed the distance. With a simple motion, the ruler unleashed a powerful magical attack. The overwhelming force struck Sol before she could land a single hit. Suddenly, a stick of dynamite flew into the throne room from outside. A massive explosion ripped through the palace, throwing the entire hall into chaos. As smoke filled the room, a mysterious figure calmly walked inside. Dazed by the blast, Sol dropped to one knee and noticed her sword had been cut clean in half. The masked stranger grabbed Sol's hand before she could react. Holding another stick of dynamite, he warned that she would never defeat the queen this way. A second explosion erupted, covering their escape with another wave of destruction. The stranger pulled Sol through a portal before anyone could stop them. After reaching safety, the bunny-masked man apologized for arriving too late to rescue her. Sol immediately drove her knee into his face without a second thought. The masked man crashed onto the ground while Sol stood over him with her broken sword. She raised the damaged blade, ready to fight anyone standing in her way. With her guard still up, Sol demanded to know who the mysterious masked man really was. This marked the beginning of her desperate journey for revenge. Sol Yun immediately attacks the bunny mask guy with her sword, but he easily avoids the attack. Jumping backward, he asks her to wait and reminds her that he was the one who just saved her. Sol thinks everything still feels like a terrible but realistic dream. However, her mind has never felt so clear. She tells herself it doesn't matter whether this is a dream or not. Without giving him time to speak, Sol jumps onto a tree, circles behind him, grabs a thick branch, and attacks from above. As she swings down, she promises herself that she will find Da-un no matter what. Casar blocks the attack and once again asks Sol to calm down. He grabs her sword and throws it away, hoping she will finally listen. Sol forces herself to stop crying and regain her composure. She reminds herself that accepting reality is what she has always done best. She doesn't need to save the entire world. She only needs to save Da-eun and Mr. Kim. Thinking back to Horsen, Sol realizes that a woman capable of destroying an entire planet might also be capable of reversing what she has done. Since immortality is all she has left, She decides she is willing to become Whoreson's guinea pig again, just like she was back on Earth. Sewell punches Casar with all her strength, sending him flying before he crashes into the ground. Coughing, he begs her to hear him out. Before Casar can recover, Sewell appears behind him and locks his arm. She decides she will deal with this suspicious man first before returning to the castle. Still trying to convince her, Casar finally removes his mask and introduces himself. He says his name is Casar Ainante and tells Soil that he wants to help her. Hearing that only makes Soil more suspicious. She immediately twists his arm until it breaks. Even after that, Casar simply asks her to calm down. After wrapping a bandage around his injured arm, Casar properly introduces himself. He is the former commander of the Hetria Royal Kingdom, the youngest chief researcher of the Stefan Chark Laboratory, and someone who has spent years gathering information throughout Hetria. Soy asks what any of that is supposed to mean. Casar smiles and jokingly replies that it means he is handsome. Completely unimpressed, Sewell starts beating him again. She can't believe he is making jokes at a time like this. Casar quickly begs her to stop before explaining that he was only introducing himself. He says they should work together because he can be very useful. Ignoring his offer, Sewell starts thinking about everything that has happened. Earth was definitely destroyed, so where exactly is this place? She remembers being instantly teleported from the castle to the forest. It felt exactly the same as when she was brought here from Earth. A thought suddenly crosses her mind. Could this actually be another planet? Looking at Casar, she wonders if he might be an alien. He looks human, but nothing else makes sense anymore. Casar overhears her thoughts and immediately explains that Hetria is not an alien planet. It is another version of Earth that exists in a different dimension. The land, the environment, the animals, and even humanity are almost identical. The only real difference is the world's source of energy. On Earth, civilization depended on electricity. In Hetria, everything runs on an energy called Charkna. Charkna flows naturally through every person's body like powerful electricity. Transportation, communication devices, weapons, household equipment, and almost every piece of technology use Charkna. Every tool powered by it is called Chark. As Casar explains, Sol walks through the streets of Hetria and looks around the steampunk city. A shopkeeper notices the blood covering her clothes and offers to sell her Chark equipment that works with very little Charkna. Casar explains that every person is born with a different amount of Charkna, usually inherited from their parents. The greater someone's Charkna, the stronger their Chark becomes. Since Charkna is used everywhere in Hetria, people born with more Charkna naturally enjoy better lives and higher status. Casar suggests they find some new clothes for Soil. While looking around the marketplace, Sol notices a portrait of the woman she attacked earlier. Casar confirms that it is Whoreson. Whoreson rules over every kingdom and every king in Hetria. She is worshipped as the world's only god, the one who first spread Charkna throughout the land. She possesses incredible healing powers, has lived throughout Hetria's history, and cannot age or die. Hearing that leaves Sewell speechless. She had planned to use her own immortality as a bargaining chip, but now she realizes it means nothing because Whoreson is immortal too. Then everything suddenly starts making sense. Whoreson already knew Sewell's name. She knew Sewell's favorite food. She knew Sewell's mother. She even knew Da Yun. Sewell realizes Whoreson brought her to Hetria for a reason, but one question refuses to leave her mind. Why would the ruler of an entire world destroy another planet just to bring one immortal girl here? Unable to hold back her emotions, Sewell shouts the question aloud. Casar hands her a fresh set of clothes and tells her that finding the answer is exactly what they need to do. Even Whoreson's closest advisors don't know why she destroyed Earth or why she specifically brought Seal to Hetria. Most of Whoreson's past and her true powers remain a complete mystery. Since Whoreson will never simply reveal the truth, they have to uncover it themselves. Sewell still refuses to trust Casar. She asks how he expects to help when he doesn't even know the answer himself. Calling him nothing more than a suspicious street thug, she tells him to leave. Casar calmly replies that the only thing he doesn't know is Whoreson's reason. Everything else about Hetria is his area of expertise. Sewell points out that he claimed the only difference between Earth and Hetria was energy. She also finds it strange that she can understand everyone perfectly. More importantly, she asks who Casar really is, how he knows her name, and why he is trying so hard to help her. Before Casar can answer, someone suddenly bumps into Sol. She turns around and finds herself staring at a huge wolf-like creature. Shocked, Seoul asks Casar what kind of monster it is if this world is supposed to be just like Earth. Casar smiles and tells her that this is exactly why she needs him. There are still countless things she doesn't know about Hetria. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Hetria, a silver-haired commander named Tarot receives an order. The mission is simple: capture 2 specific persons as quickly as possible. During the briefing, another officer casually asks whether Casar, the former commander, is truly dead. Tarot confirms that his corpse was completely destroyed, leading everyone to believe the former commander is long gone, completely unaware that Casar is still alive and secretly working alongside Seoul. He congratulates Tarot on finally receiving the commander title. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a wolf-like man cracks his fists and glares at Seoul Yun and Casar. Already in a terrible mood, he mocks them for whispering and says they should have bowed like dogs after bumping into him. Without waiting for an answer, he throws a punch at both of them. Seoul and Casar dodge the attack just in time. Seeing the punch smash through a wall, Seoul is shocked by the unbelievable strength behind it. The wolfman laughs and says he was already in a bad mood, so now he will teach them some manners. Metal wrapped around his fists suddenly transforms into a pair of gauntlets. As Charkna flows into the weapon, he curses everyone for ruining his day and demands to know how they dared mess with him. Watching the strange transformation, Seoul wonders what the gauntlets are. Casar immediately tells her that the wolfman isn't a monster. He is a person just like her. Hearing that only confuses Seoul even more. The wolfman gathers Charkna into his gauntlets and asks who wants to die first, promising to give that person a quick death. Elsewhere, 2 frightened parents beg a group of thugs to spare their children. One of the thugs mocks them, saying they never should have had such beautiful children while being poor peasants. Grabbing one of the children's faces, he says that is exactly why the nobles want them. Using Charkna, he traps the parents inside a barrier before ordering his partner to leave with the children. When he asks where Tyson is, the other thug replies that he went out earlier and still hasn't returned. The first thug assumes Tyson is probably still angry after being yelled at by the boss. Back at the street, Tyson once again demands to know why nobody is answering him. Annoyed by the interruption, Seoul decides they should simply run away because she doesn't have time to deal with him. Before she can move, Casar steps forward and volunteers to take the first attack. He tells Seoul to use the opportunity to calmly think things through. Tyson immediately charges his Charkna and slams his fist into Casar's head. The impact sends Casar flying across the street. Tyson proudly declares that he always keeps his promises by giving people a quick death. Watching Casar lying motionless inside a cart, Seoul can't believe what just happened. She remembers Casar saying he used to be a royal commander and wonders how someone like that could be knocked out with a single punch. Tyson turns towards Seoul and tells her it is now her turn. Although he admits she looks weak, he says he is far too irritated to let her go. He charges another punch and swings at her. Seoul barely manages to dodge. Tyson laughs and says she is much more entertaining than he expected. Before Seoul can react, Tyson launches another attack. One section of his gauntlet shoots forward and wraps tightly around her neck. Tyson proudly explains that it is a customized magical gadget worth 10,000 darts. Once it locks onto its target, it never lets go. He follows up with a devastating punch to Seoul's stomach before throwing her across the street. Crashing into a market stall, Seoul realizes several of her ribs are broken and blood is pouring from her body. She remembers everything Casar told her about Charkna. The gauntlets, Tyson's overwhelming strength, and his incredible speed all come from Chark-powered equipment. Even though Tyson looks like a beast, Casar insisted he was completely human. Unable to understand this world's rules, Seoul grabs a wooden stick from the ground. She dodges Tyson's next attack and quickly moves behind him. Tyson praises her for surviving this long and tells her to keep entertaining him. Seoul swings the wooden stick at Tyson's leg. The stick shatters on impact. Even so, Tyson drops to one knee from the blow. Realizing this is her only chance, Seoul immediately runs away. She knows she has no way of defeating Tyson. Since she cannot die, the battle could continue forever if she stays. Before she can escape, Tyson catches up and punches her away again. He laughs and tells her that losing focus during a fight against the great Tyson was a mistake. Seoul crashes back near the cart where Casar is lying. At that moment, Tyson's 2 companions arrive. One of them says they have been looking everywhere for him because the job is already finished. The other jokes that Tyson couldn't even control himself for a single minute. Tyson simply replies that he was in a bad mood and they started it. Lying on the ground, Seoul realizes more than ever that this is not the world she once lived in. She remembers the peaceful days she spent with Dayun before everyone she cared about disappeared. Now, she is trapped in another world with no idea what to do. Tyson notices the children the thugs captured and says he understands why the nobles wanted them so badly. According to him, those nobles will do anything to steal beautiful faces. Seeing children about the same age as Daun, Sul immediately demands to know where they are taking them. Tyson is surprised she is still alive. He admits she lasted much longer than he expected. Sul asks again where the children are being taken. Tyson coldly replies that it is none of her business and tells her to go home while she still has the chance. Just then, Casar slowly regains consciousness. Sul remembers the years she spent as a laboratory experiment. Back then, she once asked why they were doing such horrible things to her. The researcher answered that it wasn't because of immortality. He simply enjoyed it, and that was all she needed to know. Returning to the present, Casar asks Sul if she finally understands why she needs him. Filled with frustration, Sul realizes she needs information more than anything else. She needs to learn about Horson, Hetria, and everything connected to Daun and Mr. Kim. She refuses to remain helpless because of her own ignorance. Finally, Sul asks Casar to tell her everything about this world. Casar happily agrees, but first explains why he wanted to help. According to him, he simply couldn't ignore someone suffering because he is too good of a person. Although Sul doesn't believe a single word, she decides his true motives can wait. Right now, learning about this world is far more important. Casar says he already had a plan prepared, but plans can always change. He asks Sul what she wants to do next. Without hesitation, Sul answers that she wants to save the captured children and take down those bastards. Before she can even finish speaking, Casar suddenly rushes toward Tyson. Grabbing Tyson's arm, Casar drives his knee into Tyson's face with incredible force. The impact tears Tyson's arm apart as blood sprays through the air. Watching Tyson's arm rip apart, Casar calmly announces that the plan has changed. Sul Yun immediately runs toward the frightened children. Seeing them trembling in fear, she can't believe Casar ripped Tyson's arm off right in front of them. She thinks he must have done it on purpose. The little boy hugs his younger sister and tells her everything will be okay because he is with her. Both of them are still crying. The remaining thugs rush toward Casar, hoping to overwhelm him. Casar calmly pulls out 2 knives and throws them at the thugs, taking both of them down with ease. After the fight, Sul asks Casar if he knows why the thugs were trying to kidnap those children. Casar jokingly reminds her that his name is Casar, in case she forgot. Sul tells him she didn't forget his name, although she secretly feels like punching him again. Smiling, Casar walks over to Tyson's unconscious body. He lifts Tyson's head and removes a strange device hidden beneath his chin. The moment the device comes off, Tyson's wolf-like appearance disappears, revealing his real human face. Confused, Sul asks what the device is. Casar reminds her about Charkna and explains that it has many different uses. It can power everyday household equipment like communication devices and lights, or it can be forged into weapons like Tyson's gauntlets. He explains that the device in his hand is another type of chark called a quininge. A quinin allows people to completely change their appearance. Normally, people create an imaginary face of their own, just like Tyson did. However, many nobles illegally copy the appearances of real people instead. Casar explains that the children were being kidnapped because of their beautiful faces. The nobles of Hetria have a twisted hobby of stealing and collecting the appearances of commoners. After the danger is over, the children are reunited with their parents. While examining the 3 quinins taken from the defeated thugs, Sul notices something strange. Everyone who wore the devices had badly rotting skin. She wonders if using a quinin always causes people's skin to look like that. Looking more closely, she notices writing engraved on one of the devices. The name written on it is Vientina. Although she has never seen this language before, she realizes she can somehow read it perfectly. Just then, the children's father approaches Sul and gratefully thanks her for saving his family. Sul explains that she comes from a faraway place and asks him to tell her exactly what happened. The father explains that about a month ago, a noblewoman began visiting their house. She constantly praised how beautiful the children were before offering an unbelievable amount of money to buy their appearances. When the family repeatedly refused, her offers eventually turned into threats. He explains that once someone's appearance is sold, the law forbids more than 2 people from having the exact same face through a quinin. The law exists because identical appearances would make criminal investigations impossible. However, it only bans duplicate appearances, not the act of stealing them. Because of that loophole, powerful nobles steal the faces of poor people before killing them to erase the originals forever. Hearing this, Sul is horrified. She asks if murder isn't considered a crime in Hetria. The father sadly explains that poor peasants like them are barely considered human. Although murder is technically a crime, nobody investigates when powerful nobles kill commoners. Knowing Vientina will never stop hunting them, the family decides to leave immediately. Before leaving, the father thanks Sul and Casar once again for saving their lives. Watching the little girl leave reminds Sul of Dayun. Unable to stop herself, she quietly begins to cry. Seeing the name Vientina, Casar says he had already suspected their involvement, but proving it would have been difficult. He warns Sul that Vientina is an extremely dangerous organization. Still, gathering information about Horsen was always going to be dangerous, so investigating Vientina might actually be the best place to start. Confused, Sul asks what Vientina really is. She points out that the same name was written on the quinine device. Casar asks Soil how many nobles she thinks use quinines. Soil guesses that it can't be many because such a twisted hobby seems too disturbing. Casar immediately tells her she is wrong. Every single noble in Hetria uses a quinine. Because the devices are extremely expensive, they have become symbols of wealth and status. Many nobles use them simply because they can change into any appearance they want. Others collect the faces of real people. Some force their servants to wear ugly appearances while making themselves look beautiful. Casar explains that although quinines make the user's skin appear rotten, it is only a cosmetic side effect and doesn't actually harm their health. Finally, he reveals that Vientina is the company responsible for manufacturing every quinine in Hetria. That also makes it the gathering place of the most powerful nobles in the entire world. Casar asks Sul to imagine what she would do if she owned a company used by every influential person in Hetria. Without waiting for an answer, he explains that Vientina's owner chose to collect information instead. Over many years, he built an enormous collection of secrets capable of bringing down almost anyone. According to Casar, that information is Vientina's greatest weapon. He also reveals that the owner constantly boasts about his close relationship with Empress Horsen. Because of that, there is a good chance he knows something about the Imperial Palace and even Horsen herself. Elsewhere, inside a luxurious mansion, an elegant woman gently plays with her cat while saying she has been waiting for this day for a very long time. A man arrives and apologizes for keeping her waiting. He promises that as soon as his brother Tyson returns, he will personally create a special quinine just for her. The man is revealed to be Tem Byron, the owner of Vientina. Inside Horsen's palace, Commander Terret stands in front of the massive barrier protecting the imperial estate. She thinks about how the barrier blocks any weapon containing charkna from entering. Ordinary weapons like swords can pass through without any problem, but the moment a chark weapon touches the barrier, it instantly disintegrates. Remembering the attack on the palace, Terret can't understand how Casar's chark weapon not only broke through the barrier, but also destroyed part of the palace wall. Just then, one of her subordinates approaches and reports the investigation results. The subordinate explains that the weapon used during the attack was developed by the Stefan Laboratory, the greatest chark research facility in Hetria. Its internal structure was incredibly complex, and because the weapon was completely destroyed, they couldn't recover the formula responsible for breaking the barrier. The subordinate admits he has never seen such an intricate chark formula before. Every remaining formula was perfectly constructed without even the smallest error. Whoever created that weapon was an expert in chark technology. Terret then asks about the translator implanted in Sul Yun's neck and whether they managed to track its signal. The subordinate reports that someone is deliberately blocking the tracking device. The signal cannot be traced. Hearing that, Terret decides to forget about tracking Sul for now. She calmly says Sul can run as much as she wants, but she is still trapped somewhere in Hetria. Terret then turns to another soldier and asks about the color of the portal they saw. The soldier confirms that it was green. Hearing that, Terret immediately begins calculating the possible destination. She knows every portal has a different color depending on its travel distance. Yellow portals can travel up to 1,000 horts. Blue portals can travel up to 5,000 horts. Green portals can travel as far as 40,000 horts or even farther. Even the military rarely uses green portals. Thinking about the masked man's abilities, Terret admits she is beginning to feel it would be a shame to kill him before learning his true identity. She immediately orders every soldier to search an area within 40,000 horts opposite the palace. Using every available soldier and every piece of technology, she orders them to capture both Sul and Casar before the day ends. As night falls, Sul and Casar quietly sneak through the city until they arrive behind the back gate of Vientina. A few hours earlier, Casar had contacted his partner using a chart communication device. The voice on the other end immediately protested after hearing Casar's plan. He warned that Vientina was far too dangerous for their first mission. Casar introduces the mysterious voice to Saul. He explains that the man is his only partner and one of the greatest hackers in all of Hetria. The man introduces himself as Enoch. He proudly calls himself the Devil Hacker, a genius capable of decoding any code in Hetria. Before Saul can introduce herself, Enoch tells her he already knows exactly who she is. Enoch continues warning them that Vientina is one of the most dangerous places in the entire world. It is where the nobles gather to carry out countless unspeakable crimes. If anyone becomes even slightly suspicious, they will kill the intruders without hesitation. Sul interrupts him and calmly says, none of that matters. As long as she can obtain the information she needs, she doesn't care how dangerous the mission is. Enoch asks if she understands that she could die. Sul calmly replies that she can't die, so it doesn't matter. Casar casually confirms that Sul is immortal and reminds Enoch that she is also a capable fighter. Completely shocked, Enoch asks if she is truly immortal, just like Empress Horson. Casar laughs and says he thought he had already mentioned that. Enoch immediately yells that Casar never told him such an important detail. Sul explains that even if her heart is torn apart, her body is cut in half, or she is burned to ashes, she will never die. Even if she is captured and tortured, she will eventually find a way to escape. She begs Enoch to help her. Hearing those words leaves both Casar and Enoch speechless. After a moment of silence, Enoch tells them about an item called Rams. Ram is Byron's greatest weapon and contains an enormous amount of information about Hetria. It is exactly what they need. Enoch then explains the infiltration plan. A carriage used by human traffickers will soon arrive at the back entrance of Vientina. They must hide inside the carriage and pretend to be unconscious prisoners. Since everyone working there is already involved in illegal human trafficking, security during the delivery will be relaxed. Soon afterward, the carriage arrives at Vientina. One of the guards comments that the traffickers have been working especially hard lately. The driver proudly replies that he captured every person he could find. After receiving his payment, he hands the carriage over to Vientina's employees. Hidden among the unconscious prisoners, Sul and Casar quietly wait inside. Earlier, Enoch had explained the rest of the operation. His job is to locate the ram and guide them safely out of the building. Stealing the ram itself is entirely Sul and Casar's responsibility. Because his face is already known, Enoch cannot enter Vientina himself. He also warns that controlling Vientina's security systems from outside has strict limits. They will have only 3 hours to steal the ram before he loses control over the gates. Enoch sends them a complete map of Vientina and promises to reveal the ram's exact location after they enter. Even he admits it is the most reckless plan they have ever attempted. He can only hope they don't get caught. Back in the present, Sul and Casar are carried inside Vientina, disguised as unconscious prisoners. A guard orders the workers to clean them before the guests arrive. One of the employees activates a chart device and cleans both of them. While pretending to remain unconscious, Casar quietly whispers to Sul and asks if she is nervous. He jokes that they are carrying out a heist only a short time after she arrived in Hetria. Without any hesitation, Sul calmly replies that she isn't nervous at all. At the same time, the guests begin gathering inside Vientina's first-floor exhibition hall.